to Maersk?
Well, NAFTA is important to all of us. I think as Maersk, we're obviously supporters of global trade and trying to make sure that, you know, there's opportunities to promote that. In terms of North America, South America, most of our shipments are international by water, so there's some that's moving via that route, but most of that's moving over overland borders. So we, of course, are interested in monitoring that, and we just support whatever the regulations are and make sure that we can make trade as easy as possible under the regulations that are available.
Mr. Rubio, how important is NAFTA to UPS?
It's very important. Canada is one of our largest trading partners, and of course we move lots of products between U.S., Canada, and Mexico. So we're also involved with CBP on some pilot work related to NAFTA.
Right. Yeah, China. I mean, Canada actually is our largest trading partner. We export $280 billion a year to Canada, 230 to Mexico. China's a distant third, about half of those. Blockchain technology, as we are modernizing the NAFTA agreement, do you feel like we're doing anything to help empower you all, either one, Mr. White or Mr. Rubio? Are we taking blockchain technology? Have you had any conversations with administration, if you're allowed to? What would allow you to better use blockchain as we modernize this NAFTA agreement?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we're working right now with CBP on a pilot related to NAFTA, and it's progressing very well. We think that we'll have a pilot up and running in the fall timeframe. So I think we're getting great support from CBP in this area.
Great. Mr. White, anything to add there?
Yeah, likewise, we're working with Canadian Customs and CBP here in the U.S. to try and look at the documentation that's required for a certain specific commodity segment of that, and to see if that can be applicable there, and can we actually make that a standard elsewhere. So we're early days, but we're working together on that.
So there's a spirit of cooperation and anticipation of this technology from this administration.
Absolutely.
That's great to hear. Dr. Maughan, let's talk to you for a second. One of my biggest concerns as I go to all my different meetings, different committees, talk to different folks, is when it comes to cybersecurity, let alone blockchain technology, is I'm worried that every department's doing their own thing. Is DHS the leader on these issues? Is there some cooperation between your department and the other departments in the administration, whether it's blockchain technology or cybersecurity?
So I'll answer from two sides. From the science and technology side, there's a lot of coordination and collaboration going on in the interagency, in particular in the blockchain area, where we share what's going on across the different agencies. You have NSF and NIST and others also funding research and development in blockchain. On the operational side, DHS does have the lead on the cybersecurity, as well as with the NIST cybersecurity framework and its how it explains cybersecurity. So both operationally and R&D, DHS has a strong position there.
Is there a cooperation with the military in what they're doing in these areas with DHS?
That I'm aware of on the research and development side, there is, because I'm involved in it, and we do things from an interagency perspective. I don't know the details on operationally. I would expect there is, but I don't know the details.
Okay. It's been said, I'll stick with you, Dr. Maughan, is that China steals $400 to $600 billion of our technology every year through copyrights or computer software, whatever it is. Explain to me, again, you all have touched on it, go a little bit deeper. How can blockchain technology impact that and be specific? Like, give me examples if you could.
Sure. So if you look at how a blockchain works, and the ability for organizations or individuals to put their cryptographic stamp on the data, right? Now, if I use it in that way, you, as the Chinese or others, wouldn't be able to counterfeit. So
Nike would have their unique encryption, and you knew if you got a pair of Nike shoes from someone that doesn't have that unique encryption, you as a producer you as a wholesaler in America would see that.
Correct. And if it's not, if it doesn't have the correct data, doesn't have the correct integrity on the data, then someone would be able to tell that you're not the legitimate producer or supplier.
Okay, thank you. I can ask one more question if you're not quite ready. Tell me, you know, fentanyl is one of my big concerns. Fentanyl is 100, 1,000 times more potent than the typical opioids coming across. Yeah, you can make this in your garage. It's coming over by the truckloads from China, I'm told. How can blockchain, you know, UPS or DHS, maybe Mr. Rubio, you're the UPS guy. Any thoughts how blockchain could impact that?
That's a tricky issue because it's ultimately what gets packed in a carton, and I think that becomes a challenge for us. Blockchain certainly provides the framework for us to begin investigating the contents and then perhaps scoring transactions and then eliminating them from the supply chain. So the framework is there, and it's an area that will require work.
Can we trace it backwards? You know, perhaps to the origin.
Absolutely.
A little bit better?
Yeah, absolutely. Using the same techniques that Dr. Maughan explained, that's exactly the way we would go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize. I went over. I yield back.
That's quite all right.